Andrews, owner and creator of Andrewsfootball.com. Welcome to my Week 14 review. Now, if you're new to my channel and you haven't done it already, there's this button right around here. See it, see it, see it. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. My channel, scientifically proven to make all your wildest dreams come true. Now, before I get into my review, just some news that I saw on Monday Night Football, some more information for you Friday, but basically there was a film crew that was caught by the Cincinnati Bengals organization taking some scene shots, something like that, of the Cincinnati sidelines. I don't know all the specifics. I'll get more information for you for the Friday video. Most likely because of the history of New England Patriots with Spygate and Deflategate, this will result in a loss of a draft pick. How severe it's going to be, I don't know, but I think the NFL will take action, even though it's a crew not related or not associated with the New England Patriots. Again, I'll have some more information for you later on down the line, but I do think it's going to be a loss of a draft pick. Lamar Jackson was injured in the game. He's day-to-day. Personal opinion, I think he'll start, being that they almost have the 1 seed wrapped up, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later on, but I think he'll play next week. Patrick Mahomes was also injured. The x-rays came back negative. He's expected to start Sunday. And let's start with the review here. Monday Night Football. What a great game. Eagles down by 2 touchdowns, came back to win in overtime. I thought it was a gutty, fun game. Now with that win, they're tied with Dallas for the NFC East. The NFC East lead. They're both 6-7, and in 2 weeks from now they play each other. More than likely, the winner of that game will win the division. Side note is that when I was watching the game, I started thinking about it, and Eli Manning's probably not going to be in New York for 2020. So I started thinking about it. And here's a quick little list of quarterbacks that started in 2019 that could be elsewhere in 2020. You have Eli Manning and Case Keenum just in the NFC East alone. In the NFC South, you have Cam Newton, Teddy Bridgewater. And now I think Tampa Bay's going to stick with Jameis Winston, but there's talk about moving on from him after this year. So, I mean, that's 5 already. The NFC North, the Trubisky talk kind of died down. Matt Patricia's on the hot seat. If he gets fired, does Stafford go? Kirk Cousins is going into 2020, last year of his contract. A possibility of all 3 of those quarterbacks moving on. All possibility of all 3 of those quarterbacks stay. That's a total of 8. AFC West, Joe Flacco's not going to be in Denver. What about Phillip Rivers? A lot of talk about Rivers gone. That's 10 total right now. AFC North, Andy Dalton's probably going to be gone. What about RG3? What about RG3? Are you going to tell me he can't do a lot of what Lamar Jackson's doing? That's another thing. What about Big Ben? More than likely he's coming back to Pittsburgh in 2020, but that's actually a question mark. That's actually a question mark. So, I mean, I just named 13 already, but I got more. I got Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill, both Tennessee quarterbacks. What happens to either or both of them? Jacoby Brissett signed a 2-year extension before the season started. Is he the guy in 2020? That's up for debate. And what about Nick Foles? He definitely is not guaranteed to be the starter in 2020. So what am I up to now? 16? Oh man, I almost lost count, but what about the AFC East? You got Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen. Think about this. Josh Rosen was the 10th pick in the draft 2 years ago. And in 2020, he's probably going to be on his 3rd team in 3 years. Is he just like a giant asshole or something? I joke around, but I actually feel bad for the guy. You're the 10th pick in the draft. And it looks like you're going to have 2 teams just give up on you in a matter of months. I've never seen that happen before. But I think I named almost 20 quarterbacks that started at some time during the season. And I'm going to go in a lot more detail once season's over. But there's a lot of quarterbacks. And keep in mind, there's at least 3, probably 4 or 5 rookie quarterbacks that are going to get a chance to start in 2020. So a lot of quarterback turnover here. let's get back to the review here. Sunday Night Football, big win for the Rams at 8-5. That the playoffs were to start today. Rams are on the outside looking in, but a big win for them. Now, Seattle can still win the West. All right, the next two games are at home, and the last game of the season's at home against San Francisco. Remember, they already beat San Francisco in San Francisco, so if they win out. They win the West. They could get a 1 seed. They could be a 5 seed. That last game of the season, there's a team that's either going to be a 1 or a 2 or a 5. Big game, really exciting. And if you've been watching my channel, I've been telling you the Seahawks are going to win the West. Despite of the loss, great win for the Rams. You know what? Let's just get it out of my way now. What about my Chiefs? Big win. They go ahead and clinch the West, and they still need the Patriots to lose a game, or Baltimore could drop 2. They get a bye. I'll go into a little more detail, the AFC playoff picture, but the Chiefs are guaranteed to get in. The only question is, can they get a bye? They need some help. Tennessee, they win big at Oakland. They have 2 games against the Houston Texans for a battle for the AFC South, but they have a game against the Saints sandwiched in between 2 games with Houston, so it's a tough road to haul. The Raiders are not mathematically eliminated, but yeah. I feel like Lumberg here doing that. Yeah. Oakland, we need you to stay out of the playoffs this year. I can't do it, the voice, but yeah, you get it. A team that I think is going to the playoffs, Pittsburgh, they win at Arizona. I've been saying it for weeks. I think they're going to make the playoffs. They have a tough game at home against the Bills next week, though. The Chargers, they crushed the Jags. 4 straight losses. Doug Marrone, I think, is officially on the hot seat. He may be gone. The whole quarterback situation is really murky for 2020. Very interesting to see what Jacksonville does in the offseason. But with 4 straight losses, Marrone needs a win bad and fast. With the Chargers, also interesting to see what they do. A very talented team, but the opportunity to win a Super Bowl looks like that window is closed. Interesting to see what both these teams do in 2020. A team that's on the rise for 2020 is the Denver Broncos. Huge win at Houston. This puts the Texans in a difficult spot because they're tied with Tennessee and they have to play Tennessee twice. So they need at least one of those games. They need to win at least one of those games in order to win the division. They could be a wild card team, possibly. Even if they lose to Tennessee, they could get a wild card spot, but they would need help from Pittsburgh. A team that's now eliminated from AFC playoff competition, the Indianapolis Colts, with their 3rd straight loss at Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay's won 3 straight. I talked about Winston. He was a question mark. I think he stays in Tampa Bay, but one thing that I've noticed about Tampa Bay, normally if you're 6 and 7, you have a chance for a wild card. Not this year, at least not in the NFC. Which is unfortunate because Tampa Bay's playing some damn good football right now. In Indianapolis, I think in 2020 they're building something really good. Kind of a shame that they had all the injuries, but their team's going to be very, very dangerous in 2020. I'll touch base on that more when the season's over. Miami at New York. I did not watch this game, but I know of the controversial pass interference call that was overturned. Flores was furious. Both these teams are really looking good for 2020 and beyond. Miami, of course, has a zillion draft picks, including 3 in the first round. The Jets, I think Darnold's the best quarterback in the 2018 draft. I think he's going to be a superstar. The Jets are going to are kind of going to build around him. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. But the Jets are a team really, really going in the right direction. And the Dolphins, like I said, they're going to have a ton of draft picks. So both these teams have a lot to be excited about for 2020. Game of the week here was San Francisco at the Saints. The Saints, I've been saying for a long time, I think they're the best team in the NFC. But they did lose at home. Now, they could still get a bye, and they did clinch a playoff berth last week. But, man, what a great game. What a great game. And San Francisco, now, they're controlled the NFC, 11-2. They could still be a wild card team. What an exciting year for the NFC. I mean, that's just amazing. Detroit at Minnesota, a tough loss, but Detroit's D did well, which I thought was a positive for Matt Patricia keeping his job. Just side note, I do think Matt Patricia deserves to stay as head coach for one more year. I think that when you're starting an undrafted rookie free agent, your third string quarterback against Minnesota, the only undefeated team at home in the NFC, I think he had a little bit of a pass. That's my opinion, but it's definitely not set in stone. He's returning for 2020 yet. Minnesota, they're trying for a home game because they're the only undefeated team at home in the NFC. So actually, with the Patriots lost, they're the only undefeated team at home, period. That's going to be a tough thing to do, but they're going to get an opportunity. They still have to play Green Bay. They aren't guaranteed a playoff spot yet. Normally, if you're 9-4, you're guaranteed in the playoffs. Not this year. They're a dangerous team, though. The Vikings, definitely a dangerous team. Washington at Green Bay, surprisingly close game. I've been saying this for a while. I think Washington needs 4 wins out of Callahan in order to have him have an opportunity to interview for the head coaching job. But if I'm Daniel Snyder, I take a long, hard look at Callahan and keeping this team together. This is a team that's really looked better. Over the last several weeks. I'm high on Callahan, but it'll be interesting to see what the Redskins do. Green Bay, they play all divisional opponents for the next 3 weeks. Home game against the Bears, then at Minnesota, at Detroit. They do that at Minnesota game is going to be a lot of fun. Not even guaranteed a playoff spot yet, but they look like a really good team. Cincinnati at Cleveland, 2 teams that are not making the playoffs. Now, Cleveland's not mathematically eliminated, but yeah. Cincinnati, actually, I think with Dalton coming back, I think team looks a little better. Again, they're a team that's really looking at 2020, but there's some good pieces in play. I think it's important for Cleveland to finish strong for Kitchens keep his job. I mean, there's so much hype around this team. There's so much talent on this team. So I think it's important for him. I don't think he's out of the doghouse yet. He could still be fired if the team looks really bad in the last 3 weeks. So I think it's important that the Browns stay strong for the last couple of weeks, even though I'm telling you right now, there's no chance they make the playoffs. Carolina at Atlanta, Perry Farrell, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the last name. He not only did he lose his debut, Dante Jackson went public in criticizing him. That's never a good sign. It looks bad on Dante Jackson. It also looks bad on your defensive coordinator, who's an interim head coach who just gave up 40. So Matt Ryan hit 50,000 career passing yards. Second fastest player to do that. First, of course, was Drew Brees. I don't think that there's enough for Dan Quinn to keep his job, but the Falcons look considerably better. It'll be an interesting offseason for the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. AFC game of the week was Baltimore at Buffalo. Great game, and with the New England loss, Baltimore essentially clinches the 1 seed. They have 2 winnable home games. They have 2 winnable games. A home game against the Jets at Cleveland before a meaningless home game against Pittsburgh. I say that because if they win those first 2 games, they've locked up the 1 seed no matter what. So that home game basically becomes meaningless. If you watch my video I made when I was super amped up about the Chiefs win, basically the AFC playoffs I think are already decided today, right now. I think Baltimore's the 1 seed. Patriots are the 2 seed. Both those teams are getting buys. I think Kansas City will get the 3 seed. The AFC South winner will get the 4 seed. I think it's going to be Houston, but either team, the AFC South winner gets in. I think the team that finishes second will get out, will not finish in the playoffs, and I think I think Houston makes it. I think Tennessee's on the outside looking in. I think Buffalo has the 5 seed wild card, and I've been public. I think Pittsburgh will get the final playoff spot. I think they'll play in a meaningless game against Baltimore. I think you'll see RG3 in there. I think you'll see a lot of the starters sit. in that game, and I think Pittsburgh will limp into the playoffs. The NFC is very exciting on the other hand because the Saints, they're the only team that's clinched a playoff spot. I mean, you have San Francisco at 11-2, hasn't even clinched a playoff spot yet, but I'm pretty sure they're going to make the playoffs. Same thing with Green Bay and Seattle. Both teams are 10-3. The sad thing is that you either have a 9-4 Minnesota team or an 8-5 Los Angeles Rams team. One of those two teams is going to be on the outside looking in. That's kind of a shame because both those teams are really, really good football teams. Both those teams are playoff caliber teams. While the NFC East leaders, the 6-7 Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, one of those teams are going to go into playoffs, while either a 9-4 Vikings team or an 8-5 Rams team is going to stay home. So anyway, Friday is my preview video. I'm going to preview Week 15 for you. And don't forget, live stream Saturday, 7 p.m. Central. Anything goes! So listen, if you haven't already, there's this button right down here. See it, see it, see it. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. I'll see you Friday.